Plastic fittings actually rubbing on the frame. Nice and secure. Welcome back, gentlemen. Last time with this PowerBoost, we opened up the hood, dove deep into the specs of this hybrid platform. I gave you 5 things that I really like about this truck. We've also towed with this PowerBoost truck. Today, however, I'm going to give you some things that would concern me as a heavy-duty mechanic about this hybrid F-150. First of all, complexity. And I'll be frank, this PowerBoost platform, it is very complex, which means we have more potential failure points, especially when comparing this engine to something like a 5-liter Coyote. Bringing your peepers under the hood here, you guys can see just on first glance, there is a lot going on. A little bit of a spaghetti factory of wiring, hoses, clamps, sensors. There's a lot. So first of all, this is a twin turbocharged engine. We have a turbo on each side of the engine, which is both oil and water cooled, meaning that we have coolant hoses going to each turbo. These turbos also use an electronic wastegate actuator. So this right here is one of our turbo wastegate actuators, made of plastic and looks to be some aluminum. But to me, this is a somewhat high-risk failure point, just given the amount of heat this piece of electronic is going to be exposed to. We can also see our turbo wastegate linkage there. Hopefully you guys can see that. And turbo wastegates, they are known to fail or seize up from time to time. Nothing necessarily new there either. We also have 2 separate cooling systems, one for the engine, one for the hybrid system. And this sort of results in coolant lines with plastic fittings running everywhere. We have coolant lines going to our DC to DC 12-volt converter. We got coolant lines running to our battery pack. I guess we have a coolant sensor there that clip's already starting to rust. Plastic tee there, you gotta love it. Nice and secure. Here's that same coolant line, another plastic fitting right by the frame. Plastic fittings actually rubbing on the frame. On the passenger side framer, we got more coolant lines running to the back of the truck. Again, you can see we got plastic fittings right there. And these ones do feel a little bit more secure, thankfully. These lines are running, I imagine, to the battery, as well as our 7.2 kilowatt hour inverter is also water cooled. So we got coolant lines running to this. You can sort of see up top there. And now that we're down here, let's continue on. This is a exhaust heat exchanger, and this is used on the engine side of the coolant system, or the primary coolant system, to help rapidly heat up the engine. Therefore, we can use our electric motor quicker. That is, from what I've read, the primary purpose of this. It uses exhaust gases to heat up coolant. Pretty simple, but again, we have coolant lines running all the way back from the engine to this exhaust heat exchanger, these plastic connectors. In fact, these heat exchangers have been notorious for leaking. We also have an electronic actuator on the top of this thing. I might not be able to show you. Again, more electronics, more coolant lines, and this is only on the PowerBoost platform. So we have coolant lines running all under the underside of this truck with plastic connectors, and a coolant system endures a lot of heat cycles, and from what I've seen quite well, plastic is not that great at enduring those heat cycles, and there's a much higher risk that those plastic connectors are going to either leak, crack, or just plain fail. Coming back up top to our engine bay, this 3.5L EcoBoost also uses an EGR cooler. It's kind of bare, you might not be able to see it, but this right here is a coolant line going to our EGR cooler. Coming to the driver's side, again, this is pretty buried, but this, we have what I'm gonna say is our electronic secondary cooling system pump. And oh yeah, did I mention all the hybrid specific wiring as well that is running throughout this truck? It's almost endless. All of those things that I just mentioned and pointed out, none of those components are on the 5-liter Coyote V8 in an F-150. So just take that into consideration, and we're not done yet. Like the 5-liter Coyote, this engine comes with a dual injection system, which I quite like, both direct injection as well as port injection. But unlike the 5-liter Coyote, where its port injection system is out and about, accessible. So this is a 5-liter Coyote, and you can see we have our port fuel injection system, all relatively very accessible. There's one of our injectors there, probably one there, and probably one right there. So again, pretty accessible, but the EcoBoost is a little bit different. This is an EcoBoost engine that I Do Cars ripped apart, and you can see right here, this is our port fuel injection system, and it is in between the banks, buried underneath the intake, in between the valve covers. If something was to go wrong, let's say, it's going to be just a little bit more of a repair job to get all up in here. And with a direct injection engine, we have a high pressure fuel pump, which is right there. We also have high pressure fuel lines. We have high pressure injectors, which are directly in the combustion chamber and from time to time can fail. So yes, I do like a dual injection setup when we have direct injection, but a dual injection fuel system is going to add a little bit more complexity. And how can we forget about our 1.5 kilowatt lithium battery pack, which is up there. You guys can sort of see it, but you can also nicely see the added electronics or wiring that is going to come with that battery pack. We already talked about this 7.2 kilowatt hour inverter pack, which comes with this hybrid system, our hybrid wiring. And how could we forget about our 47 horsepower electric motor that is nicely stuffed between the engine and the transmission. So we got a lot of stuff going on here, and what could possibly go wrong? Obviously, I'm being just a little bit facetious, but I think there is some truth in that as well. This PowerBoost hybrid platform, it is very complex. There is a lot going on here between wiring, coolant lines, battery pack, electric motor, twin turbos, electric turbo wastegate actuators. There's a lot of stuff stuffed into this platform. And as I've always sort of said, simplicity tends to lead to reliability, and it's not rocket science. The less components we have with an engine, the less failure points we have, which generally means the less failures we're going to get. We have a lot of potential failure points with this engine. I'm not saying this engine is not going to be reliable. All I'm saying is that there is more chance for failure. And if I was a betting man, something like the 5-liter Coyote, also in these F-150s, with almost none of what we just talked about there, is going to give you better long-term reliability. The second thing that would concern me if I was looking to purchase this PowerBoost is just the amount of plastic on this engine platform. As we mentioned earlier, the coolant fittings all seem to be plastic, and a coolant system goes through hundreds, if not thousands, of heat cycles. And are all of those plastic coolant fittings going to hold up for years at a time? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. So we'll get your eyes in here once again. Plastic, 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 plastic. Our thermostat housing is plastic. That's been known to leak. Our intake, plastic. Valve covers, plastic. It doesn't really end. And I understand why manufacturers want plastic or like plastic. It's cheap to manufacture and it's light. You know, like, okay. Great, more plastic, plastic, plastic T right there, plastic, 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 plastic. Even our turbo boost air pipes right here, plastic, baby. One on the passenger side, plastic, 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 plastic. Now, I don't just want to pick on Ford, because any half-ton truck, for the most part, that you look at buying in 2026, you open that hood up, there is going to be a ton of plastic, because as we mentioned, plastic is first of all cheap to manufacture and it's light. And the lighter weight we can make these trucks, it means we're going to have better fuel economy, and manufacturers are going to be able to hit their emission requirements much easier. So that is why plastic is now the material of choice, it seems. The third thing that would concern me about this PowerBoost is this 10R80 transmission. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here. This is not breaking news that these transmissions have had their fair share of issues. But I think it is fair to say that the general design of this transmission, as well as the GM 10-speed, is just not that adequate for long-term reliability. And until I'm proven wrong, I will have this stance. Now, with that being said, hopefully the 2024 and up 10R80 transmissions will have some better luck with the CDF clutch drum being updated, as well as the valve body being improved. But overall, I still think the 10R80 transmission is a weak point on this PowerBoost platform. The fourth thing that caught my eye when I was actually towing with this truck is that these PowerBoosts tend to have lower payload figures. This specific truck has around 1,300 pounds of payload. So yes, these PowerBoost trucks are very powerful. They tow very well. But the question is, can this PowerBoost legally tow your heavy family camper trailer?
All right, so here's an example using 1,300 pounds from the payload on this truck. Let's say you have a family of 4, I don't know, 550 pounds, got some gear, we'll call it 100 pounds there. Now, a weight distributing hitch, technically Ford recommends that, or I believe actually requires, if you're towing over 5,000 pounds, you need a weight distributing hitch to keep everything, again, quote unquote, legal. So when you add all this up, that really only gives you a tongue weight of, or an available tongue weight of 550 pounds. And that is only with 10%, which technically, I think by the book, you want more around 12 to 13%. So with that tongue weight of only 550 pounds, you're only legally going to be able to pull a trailer of like 5,500 pounds to, again, keep everything legal. Whereas when you use a standard EcoBoost with the same trim, the Lariat, and we get a much higher payload of 1,750 pounds, doing the same calculations with the same family, the same gear, weight distributing hitch, we get a max trailer weight availability of 10,000 pounds because we have 1,000 pounds left over for the trailer tongue weight. So that is a pretty big difference. And, you know, you look at these two payloads and you might think, well, 1,300 pounds versus 1,750 isn't going to be that much of a make or break. But when you actually do the math and do the breakdown, the max trailer weights is pretty significantly different if you are trying to stay legal.
The last thing I want to touch on today, and this is really where the rubber hits the road for me and probably a lot of you guys, is the long-term reliability. We talked about it earlier in the video that simplicity usually leads to reliability. It's not necessarily rocket science. And as we've seen, this platform, it is far from simple. There is a lot of potential failure points, and I think that is a concern for long-term reliability for those truck buyers who are looking to buy a truck that's going to last them for a significant amount of time. And I have made a video in the past talking about how Consumer Reports rated this PowerBoost engine as the least reliable half-ton truck for a number of years in a row. Now, do I wholeheartedly believe Consumer Reports? Not necessarily.
I think the reason why Consumer Reports rates this truck so low is the multiple safety recalls, customer satisfaction programs, as well as technical service bulletins that have come out on this truck. Now, these are just some highlights of these. There's a lot more. Some are more serious than others, like this is not necessarily great, that's probably not great, but a rear view camera, meh. Potential loss of trailer brakes, turn signals, again, not the end of the world, but something like exhaust heat recovery might be a different story. Rear axle wiring, yeah, you probably don't want that. Charging issues, probably not what you want. Again, we talked about the 10-speed transmission.
So there have been a number of gremlins with this PowerBoost since its inception, and we are a couple of years past 2021. So in a perfect world, Ford has had time to iron out a lot of those little issues that we just mentioned. One thing I do want to point out is that in 2026, these engines, these PowerBoost trucks are going to come with gasoline particulate filters. We won't get fully into it today. That's for another video, but I fear that that will add just another layer of complexity, software stuff, and that could lead to some issues down the road. Luckily, this is a 2025, so again, that is an issue for another video, but certainly something to keep in mind if you are looking at a 2026. All right, so those are the major things that would concern me about this PowerBoost, and I'll give you my honest thoughts about this platform. I think this PowerBoost is fantastic for anyone looking to lease this truck, anyone looking to own this for 5-6 years. It's got great power, probably got some good fuel economy, it tows well, it's smooth to ride in. But if you're one of those owners that's looking to own this truck for 10 plus years and have little to no issues with your truck, I fear like you might be disappointed. I question the long-term reliability of this platform. I could be proven wrong, but so far, seeing all the plastic components, all the complexity associated with this engine, all the wiring, the software that probably goes with it. Long-term reliability is something that definitely would concern me. Now, those are obviously just my opinions. You guys can let me know what you think, if you agree with what I have to say, or if you think I'm being just a little bit too pessimistic on this PowerBoost. If you own one of these things, let me know how it's been for you, if it's treated you well, or if it's not treated you that well. Let me know. Always like hearing from real world owners. If you did like the video, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And if you like cool stuff like this, don't forget to subscribe. We'd love to have you on board. Anyways, enough of me. We'll see you on the next frickin' video.